Hello, hey Boomer listeners. I hope everyone had a wonderful, lovely Easter. Everyone who celebrates Easter. We happen to have a gorgeous day here in Greenville, South Carolina. And I got out into a park and walked around and enjoyed the weekend. It was beautiful. And now that many of us have been fully vaccinated, we are starting to get out more. But 2020 was a year of isolation and fear. And we are now ready for new adventures and new opportunities in 2021. My mission for Hey Boomer is to deliver shows that inspire us to actively seek out opportunities for personal growth, for community involvement, and for opportunities and ways to make the world a better place in the many ways that we can. This show with my guest, Heidi Siefkas, who is an author and adventurer, will look at how we can start to think about new adventures for 2021. And I want you to actively participate in this experiment of thinking about what is going to be your adventure for 2021. So when you think about an adventure, and we're going to talk to Heidi about this, it doesn't have to be something that is so frightening that there's no way you're going to do it. It could be something like maybe you've always thought you might want to ride a roller coaster, but you've never tried it yet. This could be your year for that. Or maybe you've thought that you always wanted to participate in some kind of social justice movement or in the climate change work or in voter registration, but you haven't done it yet. This may be the year to put that down as your adventure. So I'm going to be looking for everybody who's listening to participate in the chat and let us know what are some adventures that you could think about for 2021 to start to break out of all of this isolation and fear that we've experienced in 2020. I also want to take a moment to thank some of our sponsors. These sponsors are sponsoring our Hey Boomer Forest Bathing Adventure, which is coming up on May 4th. And the first sponsor is Kathy McAfee. Kathy is the creator of the Fearless Leader program. And I took that program, as many of you know, because I've mentioned it before. It is an amazing program. And whether you're still working or looking for a way that you want to show up in your life, or maybe starting a new business or a new opportunity, the Fearless Leader program is a great opportunity to pursue those goals and have so much support and get so much information on how to keep going in the direction you want to go. The first program in this new cohort starts on this Wednesday, April 7th, and there's one spot left. So you can't wait. If you think this is the right fit for you, call Kathy today, 864-610-6137. You can also go to fearlessleader.me and fill out the application. But like I said, there's one seat left. So call Kathy today and don't miss out on this opportunity. The Fearless Leader cohort starts Wednesday. Our other sponsor for this particular show is Ken Dolan Del Vecchio. Ken is my friend and a former guest. And like I said, another forest bathing sponsor. And as you all may recall, Ken spoke to us about parenting adult children, and a lot of our discussion was centered on his newest book, Simple Habits of Exceptional but Not Perfect Parents. After reading his book, I passed it on to my adult son, who is the father of 2 children. And I would say this book is a must read for progressive thinking parents who value critical thinking and want to help their children do the same, especially today when parenting is facing so many new challenges that we as boomers never even thought about. You can find his book, Simple Habits of Exceptional But Not Perfect Parents, on Amazon. If you want to get the Monday morning email that I send out to everybody that is on my email list so that they get the link for the show where we go live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, just go to heyboomer.biz and subscribe. That will automatically add you to the email list, and you're going to get that Monday morning reminder of who's our speaker, where can you watch us from. So it's a great, easy way so that you don't have to search for us every week. And share this with your friends, right? Because sharing is caring. Just a reminder that we are 4 weeks away from the Hey Boomer Forest Bathing event. And registrations are really starting to come in a lot. I have a few spots left in the forest bathing. So if you want to register, you can go to the heyboomer.biz page and register from there. You can also register from the Facebook page. The date is May 4th. It's 12:30 to 3:30. It's at the Foothills Equestrian Nature Center in Tryon, North Carolina. And there will be a goodie bag of gifts, including books and gift cards and Hey Boomer swag. So you all want to come. Anybody that's within like a, 30, 40 mile driving distance, come and do forest bathing with us. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm seeing everybody out here. Thank you. And thank you for participating, and let us know about your adventures. We want to hear about that. So let me bring Heidi on so you can meet her. Hi,
Heidi. Aloha.
Aloha to you from Hawaii.
Yes, hey. I'm coming to you from Maui. Yes.
Thank you for getting up so early to be with us.
You betcha.
So Heidi Siefkas is an award-winning author, a TEDx speaker, and an adventurer. She's originally from Wisconsin, but like she said, now she's in Maui, Hawaii. And as an adventurer, Heidi is rarely home for very long, but 2020 has been the year that we've all been home. So we are going to explore with Heidi what some of her adventures have been, how she's gotten to where she is today, and what she's looking forward to in 2021. And the goal is we are going to inspire all of you to have some wonderful adventures. Heidi shared her first book with me, When All Balls Drop. And this is an amazing story of recovery, both physical recovery, emotional recovery, spiritual recovery. And we are going to hear about that. She has 2 other books that we will hear a little bit about as well, because there's a special giveaway at the end. But Heidi, let's start with the story behind When All Balls Drop.
Well, I think a lot of us can connect to the When All Balls Drop story, because 2020 was, I would say, a When All Balls Drop moment for the world. And the title of the book is talking about how much juggling that most people are doing with work, family life, and it's my true story of post-traumatic growth. So I'm a living example of this post-traumatic growth that most people don't know what it is. Post-traumatic stress disorder, we get a lot of media about, but there's the polar opposite, that from any loss or challenge, life hurdle, that there can be an opportunity to use that loss as a springboard for growth. And that is the basis of my book, When All Balls Drop. I seemingly had it all, a picture perfect married life, travel industry executive, healthy, happy, and in a split second, my life changed. Most people think that horrific accidents have to be in a car or on a hiking trail or in the ocean. Well, I broke my neck by taking out the trash, and it left me with a year-long recovery, during which time I found out that my husband was living a double life and that high-powered travel executive career vanished. So my when all balls drop moment was loss of health, career, and love all at the same time. And from that, I had a decision to make. And that was, after I was well, should I rebuild the former life, or should I use this as an opportunity to architect a new one? And I decided on the latter, something I call Life 2.0. So very similar to when we do these updates on our tech devices, I did an update on my life and came out the other side better, bolder, and more true to my priorities.
I love that, architect your life. And part of that was you developed a mantra. So
Yes.
Can you tell us about that mantra?
Yes. The mantra is look up. I created the look up mantra because I didn't want to forget the lesson that I learned during this year-long process of being in an immobilization brace, limited by so many physical, but then also financially and emotionally from dealing with a divorce. The lesson was that we have very little control in this thing called life, but we do have the power of perspective and the way that we frame our situations. So I was trying to find a way to force myself, as well as give this lesson to others, of not trying to control everything and how to frame whatever situation we find ourselves in, to be in the moment, because once you center on that moment, things become more clear, and then also to find the upside in any situation, because whether it's a wound, a job hiccup, whether it's something that you're going through physically, there is most likely something that you're going to gain from that, whether that's wisdom, whether that's a plan B that's truly better than plan A could have ever been. So look up is a mantra that is an easy life tool that you can take with you wherever you are, to immediately remind yourself, hey, when you're in a TSA line and it's extremely long, or if you have a flat tire and AAA is an hour away, that be in the moment and find the upside. Whether that's you get to turn on the radio and wait for the AAA guy and it's your favorite song, or you actually have a moment to appreciate the beauty around you.
Yeah, it's a great idea. So I'm sure everybody's wondering, Heidi, you are fully recovered, like broken neck, you can walk, you can move.
Yes, I broke my C7 vertebra and I underwent neurosurgery, and then as a 6-month recovery period, I was in an immobilization brace. It was called a Miami JTO, and I used to live in South Florida. The accident happened in upstate New York, so I thought it was quite ironic that the brace was called a Miami JTO, which it sounds like it's a sexy sports car. It certainly isn't. If you have seen people with neck collars from car accidents, it's that plus a chest and back plate. I basically looked like a stormtrooper from Star Wars, and it was very, very uncomfortable. However, it gave me the opportunity to fully recover. So my neck is now stronger than anyone else's. I have full mobility. I predict that, probably as I age, I will probably have some arthritic tendencies in that area, but this at this point in time, I am fully healthy, and taking advantage of the second chance on life, to leave no stone unturned, if you will.
Yeah, so thank goodness. So this happened, what, about 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, it happened in 2009, so it's been over a decade, and during which that time I took the opportunity to write my story, not only with When All Balls Drop, but the sequel, With New Eyes, and then my travel log from my adventures in Cuba. It's Cubicle to Cuba.
Yeah, I love that title. So besides writing the 3 books, which is not an easy task, what have you been doing between your recovery and where you are today?
I have always been passionate about traveling. It's the best education that no Ivy League could give you. You experience the world like a kid again. It's a different language, it's a different sight, smells, and so I wanted to try to find a way that I could supplement the writing income in a way that I could experience the world as well as garner more stories. So I said, you know what? Really being a writer or a speaker is being an educator, but you maybe don't have the 4 walls of a classroom. How could I do that on the road? So I had worked in the travel industry, and so I used my connections and leveraged them correctly to find a way to be a tour leader, which is basically a teacher without walls. And I started educational tours to Cuba. And I have probably gone to Cuba over 100 times, whether leading trips or being an enrichment speaker on cruises going down to Cuba. And that opened the door to doing that type of work around the globe. So I've led tours in Hawaii, in Spain. I did the Camino de Santiago in northern Spain, done hiking trips in Ireland, as well as Australia and New Zealand. So really, by putting all of my talents together, I created a job that was somewhat perfect in a way. I got to experience the world, inspire others to come with me, get stories from that, and when I return, I get to write about them.
Yeah, that sounds great. And then 2020 happened.
Yes, 2020 happened. I had been to Cuba 3 times before the global shutdown. And of course, 2020 hit me financially because I had anticipated going to Cuba many more times. But it allowed me to focus on writing a screenplay of my 3 books. So I have right now the With New Eyes screenplay that combines all 3 of the books and the story to inspire not only on the page, but off the page as well. And so the 2020 pandemic made me pivot and focus on my writing and also focus on where I wanted to live. And at the time that the pandemic hit, South Florida was where I called home. It was where my father also lived, and it was close to Cuba. So it was synergistic. However, my other half was halfway across the world in Maui, Hawaii. So the pandemic made a move possible to one of the safest, most beautiful places on the planet.
And you brought your father with you.
Yes. So I would say 2020 allowed for a move and creating a blended house. So now it's my other half, who I call my partner in crime, and then my father, who is 86 and is recovering from a stroke that he had, 2014, the same year that I wrote my first book. Yeah.
So what's been one of the biggest challenges you've had for this year, besides moving halfway across the world, let's say, not just halfway across the country, but halfway across the world?
I would say the move was tremendous. in South Florida, the housing market never crashed. Uh, but when is it appropriate to put your house up for sale during a global pandemic, when
Yeah,
it's
right.
traditional to have an open house and have people coming into your house? And so that was, a waiting game as to when did we feel safe enough to do this? Then when was it safe enough for us to get on a plane and go? So it was a waiting game. And also we had to put into account hurricane season. When is it a safe time to pack up things or leave the house unattended for these type of things? So it was a juggling act, but in the end, everything worked out remarkably well. And within about a month of landing in Hawaii, I landed a wonderful copywriting job. And so from being an unemployed tour guide and freelance writer, I made the shift and moved states and was gainfully employed by a community startup. So 2020 has a silver lining, as do all when all ball drops moment. So
Look up.
look up, exactly.
That's great, Heidi. I'm happy for you. So now we're in 2021. And like I said, audience, I'm looking for some ideas of what some of your adventure ideas might be for 2021. But I want to ask you, Heidi, about your definition of an adventure, right? So I don't have to jump out of an airplane or climb Mount Kilimanjaro to have an adventure, right?
No. In fact, I did a TEDx talk that is talking about how important adventure is to your life, yours, mine, our parents, our children's. Adventure does not have to be something only for adrenaline junkies. I define adventure as any new activity. Perhaps it's a little fearful, but it puts you in the zone. It's all consuming because you have to focus all of your attention on doing it. And it can be something that's physical. It doesn't have to be. It could be something that's emotional or mental. Learning a second language is an adventure. Everything is Greek to you when you're watching how to order a hamburger and French fries or a taco and chips. You can do a new sport, whether that's stand-up paddleboarding, trying to balance on that board while the water around you is moving. You don't have the opportunity to worry about the endless to-do lists that are up here or the other worries. So it's a really great way to clear your mind, focus, very similar to the benefits of meditation. But you get to choose when you do these adventures and what type of adventure is appropriate for you. Many people gravitate towards the softer side of adventure. Let's say a short hike or a road trip close to home. And then you can gradually build to larger and larger adventures or more bold adventures.
Yeah. So I'm going to be brave and put out what my adventure will be for 2021. And part of it is building this Hey Boomer initiative, which is really to motivate the audience to be bold, to live life and keep living life and keep being relevant. I also am going to try to take an adventure trip this summer, possibly to Yosemite, possibly to Maine. We'll have to see which one seems to work out the best. So, I think in another adventure that maybe for 2022 will be to look into writing a book. So, that'll be a big one.
Writing a book is definitely an adventure, or writing your first blog post, because you're putting yourself out to the world.
Right.
Just as you're doing with the podcast. When you write something, you're putting a piece of yourself out there. And in my 3 memoirs, it was like posing my underwear to the book clubs in Alaska, as well as readers in South Florida.
I know. That's right. Some of my blogs, my sister says, "Wow, you're just being so vulnerable out there." But that's kind of what you have to do if you really want to be seen and authentic. So Bruce says an adventure could be exploring a new park or historic place near your home, learn all you can about it, or just experience it.
Absolutely. You don't have to go far. You could even explore your own hometown, but in a different mode of transportation. So you see things differently at a different pace. So if you typically drive, why not walk? Or if you haven't biked around your neighborhood, get on a bike. Or if you have the ability to see your area via kayak, you may see it very differently from a different mode of transportation or doing your routine backwards. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah, great idea. Yeah. Kathy, thank you for sharing Heidi's TED Talk. It really was very good, Heidi's.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what adventures are you looking forward to coming up into 2021 and 2022?
Well, 2021, for me, it's exploring where I call home now. Things are opening up a little bit more, and taking a deeper dive into the beauty of the Hawaiian Islands and accepting visitors. So instead of me moving, I am going to take the reverse role and have people come to me. And I'm looking forward to seeing my mother, who I haven't seen since the end of 2019. So she's fully vaccinated and coming out in a few months. And I'm expecting other family members and friends to come as well. So taking the reverse role and not being constantly in movement is going to be an adventure for me.
I imagine they're going to be looking to you to be their tour guide, though.
Yes.
So have you started laying those tours out?
Well, it's much easier when there are people that you know and you know what their interests are, whether it's bird watching, whether it's relaxing at the beach, whether it's you want to go to the best stable restaurants. So it will be fun, and in a way, it's allowing me to be a tourist in my own home as well.
Yeah, because you'll discover as you go, because you probably haven't been getting out that much.
Doing a lot of things in the outdoors, but have not taken in any shows, not many restaurants.
Right.
Things in Hawaii are opening up, little by little, and I'm looking to, in the next few weeks, that they're going to open up inter-island travel. For us, we have not been able to travel between the islands without having a COVID test as well. So once you have to figure out the logistics of 3 days prior going to the other island and then getting another test to return back to your home, it makes things, one, expensive, and it makes, travel not as fun with that many hurdles and hoops to jump through. So I'm looking forward to visiting another island, which I called home a couple years ago, which is Kauai.
Yeah, for sure. So Kathy says she had a great adventure many years ago exploring Hana, the other side of the Maui island. But Kathy, what I'm looking for from all of you, Kathy, Bruce, Heidi, everybody that's on this call, there's another Heidi. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah.
hello, Heidi.
What do you want to do for your adventure for 2021? We really want to push you a little bit to kind of publicly say, what are you going to do for 2021? So let me see some of your ideas.
I also want to say that sometimes there are emotional adventures that you can take. For example, entering the dating world after, whether that's a divorce or a dry spell after a pandemic, putting yourself out there again, getting online and trying to find someone to be an adventure buddy.
That is true. And I am on that journey now. I have a new partner in crime, I guess you could say. But, just learning how to do that again, how to be in a relationship is an adventure.
Absolutely.
And boy, easy to step in it the wrong way every once in a while.
Just think about some of the things that happen when you're on a blind date. Your heart rate increases, you maybe sweat, you're nervous, and there's quite a few Mr. Wrongs or Mrs. Wrongs that you meet along the way. But once you get back into it, it's easier to do the next date and the next date. The same thing happens when you're doing physical adventures. The more that you do, the better that you get to reacting to that fight or flight response that happens. And when that happens in life, when all balls drop moment happens, because you've been pushing yourself with these adventures, whether it's going out on a date, whether it's learning a new sport, whether it's traveling to another country, you're better at shifting your perspective when the what hits the fan.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So Kathy has been bold, and she says her adventure for 2021 will be to build a house.
That is certainly an adventure. That's it. If she's doing part of the design and creation of what it's going to be looking like, or if she's doing any of the physical components of it, or financially, how do you make ends meet?
Yeah, that's a big one, Kathy. And then she wants to spend in 2022 3 months in another country, maybe France. Woo!
Lovely.
I know.
Oui, oui.
Very exciting. Yeah. Oh, she's really going for it now. Another venture we want to do is to go on a mission trip to Uganda with a former Fearless Leader cohort, Jolly Lux, who runs a non-governmental organization called Guiding Light Orphans. That would be amazing, Kathy. I'd love to do that. And Doris says, who would have said reconnecting in person with family and friends could be seen as an adventure?
I think a lot of us are going to need to re-socialize ourselves.
So
things right now are kind of awkward. You don't know if, the person that you're meeting, are they comfortable with shaking hands? Do they want to do the fist bump? Do they want you to bow like they do in Japan? You don't know how to greet one another anymore. And we've been very sheltered. So, it's going to be a learning curve for us all. The next time we go to a job interview, are we going to shake hands? When you get together with family, are they concerned because it's multi-generational? So are there hugs or are there no hugs? So
it is. And the first time you go indoors somewhere, it's like, whoa, I don't know about this. So it is a whole relearning process. Heidi, the other Heidi, my sister, says she's staying the course this year. That's her adventure. And David, my sweet man, he says he wants to go to either Maine or Yosemite this year. So we got a trip to plan.
Well, I'm assuming you're thinking about Acadia National Park and Bahaba and lovely
Bahaba.
area. Yes, you never pronounce the R's. You gotta get your Bostonian accent when you're going up there. But I took an adventure with my mother to Acadia National Park and did some beautiful hikes there. I would highly recommend it. And there's great farm-to-table restaurants up there if you like lobster rolls or blueberry pies and great New England ice cream. But also, you can't beat Yosemite. I mean, I think Ansel Adams was probably made famous for many of his photographs of the waterfalls there. And I've gone to Yosemite, and I did climb Half Dome, which is
Did you? All right.
Is the cable hike, and it was very challenging. I pushed my limits because I'm not necessarily a fan of heights, but it was a celebration as I have a day a month that I remind myself of look up, and it's called Look Up Day, and it's the 27th of every month because the tree limb hit me and broke my neck on the 27th of of September. So I try to do something to honor that, which typically puts me in an uncomfortable space so that I can remember, look up, be in the moment, and find the upside.
Yeah. So the 27th, everybody, the 27th is lookup day every month. Bruce he says he's doing a geek adventure. So he's creating a global movement bringing together many siloed functions of security, emergency management, business continuity, supply chain risk, and more into an integrated, multidisciplinary team under the banner of agile operational resiliency. Okay, Bruce, you've just gone over my head, everybody's head.
Well, for me, that sounded like a different language. It was all Greek to me, but it would be an adventure for me to figure out what those silos are.
Yeah. I think that's been his mission for a while, but now he's kind of doing it more on his own. So good luck with that one, Bruce.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so this is fun, Heidi. So as I'm looking at stepping into some of the fears that maybe writing a book or even building Hey Boomer, what would you say to coach me, to encourage me when I hit that, like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this?
So whatever the adventure is, I recommend that you start small and soft. So if you're thinking about writing a book, start with blog posts first. Start writing small chapters. Break it into small components, and then into larger goals. If you have someone who has done this adventure before, let's say that you're interested in learning how to kayak or stand up paddleboard, perhaps find someone who has already started to do it so that they can help you over some of those hard parts, those hurdles where you're fearful of going down rapids or that you're fearful of getting into the ocean on a stand-up paddleboard. And once you get into kind of that rhythm, you'll be able to take on larger challenges and different adventures. Along the way, don't forget that lookup can be your friend when you're doing your adventure as well. So, if you are fearful about what your voice sounds like or what you look like on the podcast, remember, be in the moment. Okay, breathe. What is beautiful? What is positive about this moment? And then find the upside. Okay, so what? I mispronounced a word.
Right. Yeah, and look up, I think also for me is look out. I remember when I was with some friends at Yellowstone and like fishing was their thing. They wanted to fish the Yellowstone River. And like right across the other side of the river are buffalo and elk. And I'm like, okay, the water's cool. That's great. But look out or look up. There's other things around you.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's being in the moment. It means that you're taking everything in because you are not thinking about all the stuff that I would say most of us have in here, that monkey chatter to do.
Right?
And tomorrow we're worried about things that aren't the here and now. And when we are like that, a lot of times we are on autopilot, not noticing the beauties as well as hazards. Because, I've done a drive to work or a drive to the grocery store, and I really didn't remember, driving there because I was already thinking about, okay, what was I going to get at the grocery store? What is the meeting at work? And not being present when you're driving is pretty dangerous. So we got to get out of that autopilot, and look up helps us as a reminder.
Yeah. So look up is a great takeaway for us, Heidi. Are there 2 or 3 other takeaways you want to leave? And I know, are we ever too old to have an adventure?
No, the adventures just change. They may become less less physical or it's a different type of physical activity. I mentioned stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking quite frequently because they're things that people can do regardless of how their joints feel. And water activities are wonderful for any age, but in particular, those that have difficulty with mobility or joints. The look-up mantra you can carry with you every day, but I also encourage you to add adventures and add them frequently, because both the look-up mantra and adventures, they help you exercise the power of perspective and shifting your focus so that you're able to overcome other obstacles that come into your life when you cannot control them. So when you get hit by the 1,000-pound tree limit and break your neck, or when you have an unfavorable diagnosis at the doctor, or you get laid off, or when there's a global pandemic, you're able to flip the switch to find what is plan B, what is the upside to this situation.
Yeah, that's great. It's so important and not always easy, but there is always the opportunity to switch your perspective. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. And you don't have to just say, oh, I'm in a bad situation and Pollyanna the situation and say, oh, everything is rosy. You're entitled to have a full blown adult, ground yourself, say, look up.
Yeah. And you know, that's true. Like in this book, I mean, you could hear your anger, your frustration. I mean, that absolutely was normal in what you had to deal with. So, but you turned it around. Good for you. Yeah. So Heidi has a special offer for all of the listeners. And here's what we're going to do. As we said at the beginning, we're trying to inspire everybody on this call to think about an adventure that you might want to have for 2021. And Heidi is offering 3 of our listeners the choice of one of her books. And all you have to do is email me what is going to be your adventure for 2021. Show the other one. Go ahead.
With new eyes. This is good. Show you how to tap into that power of perspective and architect a life 2.0 without a life-changing accident. And then Cubicle to Cuba, desk job to dream job, is going to teach you a lot about Cuba, but also inspire you to think outside of the cubicle and head on an adventure of your own.
Yeah, I want to read that one. So anyway, all you have to do is email me with what your adventure will be for 2021. I'm going to share those emails with Heidi, and then we're going to select 3 people. And then once you're selected, we will let you know we'll let you know what the 3 books are you can choose from. And then once you choose that book, Heidi will send you a copy of that book. So that is a very generous offer, Heidi. Thank you.
Mahalo.
I also wanted to share Heidi's website with you. There's a lot of resources on there, a lot of perspective shifting thinking on there, a lot about her look-up mantra, and of course the books and the more full description of the books. So check out HeidiSiefkas.com. You can also find the TED Talk links there too, right?
Absolutely. There's a page for my videos, and my books come in print version, also Kindle version and audio version. So that was an adventure for me. I narrated my books. So if you think that you give a lot of yourself when you write something, then reading your own writing, you experience those stories on a different level. And so I am looking forward to see in the film depiction of the books, because it's just going to make it come full circle.
Wow. Well, good luck with that. I want to watch that adventure unfold.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to remind you all, if you like what you're hearing on Hey Boomer, please buy me a cup of coffee. This is like crowdsourcing. So you can do a $10 contribution to Hey Boomer. You can do a $75 contribution. That gives you the opportunity to also get a sponsorship shout out on the show. And it's buymeacoffee.com at heyboomer0413, the date of our first show. Thanks again to our forest bathing sponsors, Kathy McAfee from The Fearless Leader and Ken Dolan Del Vecchio and his book, Simple Habits for Exceptional but Not Perfect Parents. And before I let you go, Heidi, I want to tell everybody about our guest for next week. His name is Phil Halpern. And Phil served as an assistant U.S. attorney with the U.S. Justice Department from October 1984 until last year in October, when he resigned because of his concerns about the politicization of the Justice Department under Attorney General Barr. Halpern has been responsible for the prosecution of several high-profile cases in his 36 years with the Justice Department, including the prosecution of Randy Duke Cunningham. That was the largest corruption case brought against a sitting U.S. congressman. And the U.S. versus Duncan Hunter, which was one of the few successful campaign finance cases brought against a U.S. congressman. Both of these men were pardoned as Trump was leaving office. So we're going to be talking to Phil about the threats he saw to democracy over the past several years and what he sees now. And hopefully he's feeling a little more hopeful. So thank you so much, Heidi, for being on the show today and inspiring us to all have an adventure.
You're welcome.
Good luck with your upcoming adventures.
Yes.
And I always like to remind everyone before we end the show of a saying from C.S. Lewis. And he said, "You are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream." I love that. Thank you all for joining me today. I know your time is valuable, and Heidi and I appreciate that you were here. I look forward to having you join again next week. My name is Wendy Green, and this has been Hey Boomer.